Good evening or good morning or good afternoon, depending on when you're watching. Welcome to Off the Woodwork podcast number 3, week 3. Yes, I'm Sam.
I'm Kris.
And we'll be talking about today more sports. Well, of course it's going to be sports. But it was international break week and a few interesting results to talk about in the international friendlies. But we've also got a bit more from some other sports today. We've got the Rugby World Cup, got a bit of cricket, got a bit of the running, and a little bit more to talk about along with that. But first up today was a fairly big day for both of us at university. It was our first mock job interviews, and we'll just explain that a little bit more. One of our modules involves us having to submit a CV and a cover letter, and then have an interview for a particular job. So in both of our cases, we applied for a BBC trainee job. So Kris, you can start. Tell me all about it.
Yeah, no, it went quite well. I applied for the specialist placement at BBC Sport, so obviously mostly sports related. There was one question which really caught me off guard for some reason, and it was about athletics and the doping scandals in athletics, which I wasn't quite sure how to answer that. What about you? Any questions that caught you off guard?
Yes, one, I think I had a sort of question about how the BBC can compete with the likes of Sky Sports and others who have all the broadcasting rights to some of the things, and I sort of wasn't really sure because they're a PSB and it's hard for them to do that. But it was a really good experience, wasn't it? And it wasn't as scary as I thought.
No, it wasn't.
I think it's a lot of it is about being yourself, and that way you can sort of only do as well as you can do on the day. But for a first one, we thought it went okay.
Well, we'll get some feedback next week, so we'll tell you then.
Okay, so starting off then, I should stop starting every sentence with okay, I do understand that. Now, with the international football and specifically England, they are about to play Bulgaria actually, as we are recording this, but let's talk about what happened on Friday against the Czech Republic. A 2-1 defeat, and I couldn't believe this, their first qualifying defeat for, 43 matches?
10 years.
Going back 10 years. Harry Kane put us ahead early on after Raheem Sterling won a penalty, and then the Czechs equalised pretty much instantly, and they grabbed themselves a deservedly late winner with a few minutes to play. And looking at the analysis, a lot of people saying England thoroughly deserved it, and their defence cost them. So, Kris, what did you make of the game?
Oh, well, again, the question here is, should Southgate be picking players based on their reputation and who they play for? Obviously, he's trying new things, trying to include Maddison, the likes of Maddison in the squad, but I don't think it's working. We're going through that transition period because a lot of big clubs in the Premier League especially are going through that transition period, including Manchester United, including Tottenham now, and that's obviously going to affect the national team. Again, the problem here was defence.
I'm used to it at Carrow Road every week.
Yeah, no, same with Tottenham. But defence definitely needs fixing. The good thing is he has players to choose from, which means that he can rotate, and hopefully he will do just that for the Bulgaria game tonight.
Yes, with that sort of argument about should you be picking on form or reputation, if we sort of cross over to other sports, like especially rugby and cricket, often you will pick players who are either batting well or bowling well, and that genuinely works. But I guess if the manager backs you, then there's not too much problem with that. But plenty of work for England to do. A few other notable international matches. Netherlands 3, Northern Ireland 1. I thought they were going to nick it.
I thought they were going to nick it as well. It would have been a great result for Northern Ireland. It looked just about that Northern Ireland could have done it, but 3 late goals from the Netherlands, and the dream's over, I think, for Northern Ireland. Although can't speak too early. We'll see what happens.
And with Wales, a couple of 1-1 draws in there, 1-1 against Croatia and 1-1 against Slovakia. Respectable, I'm sure. And Scotland beat San Marino 6-0. They'll be relieved about that after losing 4-0 to Russia the game before.
Now, there's a few facts that we could mention about the Scotland game. Number one, it was Scotland's biggest win in any competition since October 2015, when they beat Gibraltar 6-0. And John McGinn, he seems to be doing quite well. He became the first player to score a first-half hat-trick for Scotland since Laurie Riley against the USA in a friendly in April 1952. That was 67 years and 166 days ago. He also scored what is just the 5th hat-trick by a Scotland player this century, and the first since James Forrest against Israel in November last year. And lastly, John McGinn has scored 3 goals in his last 4 international caps for Scotland. This after having previously never scored in any of his first 15 appearances for his country beforehand. That's impressive, isn't it?
Sounds like you might be wanting to put him into your fantasy team.
Yeah, he does. He does. Hopefully he does the same thing for Aston Villa in the Premier League next week.
It was non-league day around the country on Saturday the 12th of October, and I remember last year I went to a place called Wingate and Finchley in North London to watch them play Leatherhead, and it just gave me that reminder of non-league football and what's out there. So it's something that I think has been forgotten a lot. I mean, the main reason for that is we have, other than international breaks, we have our domestic teams to follow every Saturday or Sunday or whenever they play. So local football just gets a bit lost in the moment now. I remember being a ball boy for my home club at Dis Town back in the day. That was a long time ago. And there's just something different about non-league football, wasn't there, Kris? Just that little bit more bite, I think.
Yeah, it's that connection with the fans as well. The fans live and breathe the football team, especially where I'm from as well. I'm from Gloucestershire. We had one decent team. They used to play in non-league. They're a bit more famous now. Forest Green Rovers, the vegan football club.
Indeed.
We have moved up. We're in League 2 at the moment, but it's got that special connection. The fans, if you go to the stadium, you smell the grass straight away, which you lose that sometimes with bigger clubs. The stadiums are huge. You're not as connected to the game and what's happening on the pitch as you are with non-league, and the stadiums as well, closely packed. You've got the fans. You can smell the food. It's a different sort of environment, and we do miss that sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, why? What do you think we can do to sort of increase the popularity of non-league?
You see, I think its popularity increases during international break. That's, I think, one of the reasons why we're talking about this right now, because people feel more connected to their local football clubs rather than the national team. But I don't think they're as popular as they could be. I'm not sure what it is. Maybe it's the standard of football. Maybe there's not enough investment or advertising when it comes to smaller teams. I'm just not sure. What do you think the reason is?
Yes, similar. I just think we have too much focus on our the teams that we watch and love every Saturday, and you just supporting your local team's just gone out of fashion a bit, because everyone kind of everyone will travel anywhere you'll travel anywhere to watch a team play now, won't you?
Exactly.
You don't really mind, whereas non-league's always it's always local, and of course you've got to say quality too. Like you pay good money to pay good money for your Spurs tickets, etc. But in terms of non-league, and speaking of that, I might be going to Enfield Town on Saturday for my next ground hop. That'll be an interesting day for me. And Kris, are you back at the Lane?
I am back at the Lane on Saturday. We are playing winless Watford, so expecting a win there, but it's not looking pretty at the moment for both teams. Tottenham obviously a lot more expectation. But Watford still looking for that first win of the season, especially under new manager as well. His time is, I think, so slowly running out as well.
Moving on from football, we will return to that in the preview section. A bit about the cricket that we've had going on recently. Yes, not in England at the moment. It's rained every day for the last 2 weeks, I think, and it's raining right now. India against South Africa, the second test, and yes, India does still remain the hardest place in the world to win a test match. They thrashed South Africa this week by an innings and 137 runs, claiming a record 11th test series victory in a row at home. They racked up 601 for 5 after winning the toss and batting first, Virat Kohli getting 254 not out, and then they proceeded to bowl South Africa out for 275 and 189 to finish the match. India pretty much impossible to win in England. They did win there, I think 2011, 2012 possibly, but I'm not sure they'll be able to do that again for quite some time. The Indian team at the moment is definitely probably the best it's been this decade, I think. The Carribean Premier League competition has just come to an end. It sucks because that's what I used to do at like 1 a.m. when didn't have anything to do. It's either that or practice shorthand, isn't it, Kris?
Yeah.
The Guyana Amazon Warriors, they lost to Barbados Tridents by 27 runs in the final. They won every single group game, the Guyana Warriors, but they fell short in the final, chasing 171. The team of the tournament, I'd say probably Brandon King, Lendl Simmons, Glenn Phillips, Shoaib Malik, Karen Pollard, Fabian Allen, Jason Holder, Sunil Narayan, Imran Tahir, Chris Green and Harry Gurney, I'd say. But very fun and enjoyable tournament as always in the Caribbean. Next up we've got a bit of darts, and it was the World Grand Prix Grand Prix darts this week. Speaking of darts, I just came from a darts match actually, and I lost to a guy in the division below me, so that's not a good sign.
Painful.
The format I played tonight was the same as in the World Grand Prix. It's double in, double out, so you have to start with a double and you have to finish with a double. And it was a great week of darts, I have to say, in Dublin last week. Michael Van Gogh, he took the crown, beating Dave Chisnell 5-2 in the final to take victory. And yes, as I said, it's a unique tournament compared to the others. So with the double in, double out format, anyone can really beat anyone if you finish well and start well. Chisnell, he had a pretty good tournament. He beat Glenn Durrant in the semi-finals, but MVG was as consistent as ever, and he's now won the competition 5 times in the last decade. He beat Mervyn King and Kris on his way to the final, where he averaged 94.74, and Chizzy not far behind with 93.32. But it was a good final, and unfortunately for Chizzy, he couldn't land his first TV title. Lots of runners up for Chizzy, but he's going to win one eventually. So just a bit on the mental side of darts. I've actually got a little interview to follow this section. Kris, I remember you having a dart. I remember we brought a dartboard, didn't we?
We did
last
indeed.
year. What happened to it?
Yeah, I had to take it down because of the holes in the wall before inspection of our flat. So yeah, that wasn't fun. But yeah, it's in the bin somewhere now. We need to buy another one.
Yeah, for darts, we talk about sort of the mental side of a lot of sport. Lost voice crack there. Having not played much of it, how important do you think sort of the mental side of darts can be?
Yeah,
just from sort of your perspective.
In any sport, mental health is quite important. I think what we need to realise here is that players, whatever sport they're playing, they're not machines. They're human beings. The expectations on them are...
Well, MVG's not a human being.
Yeah, no, he's not. He's a machine. He's unbeatable. That's completely after the question. But what we need to realise is that they have feelings and they have emotions, and especially with the amount of abuse that they're getting, especially online nowadays, it's very difficult for them to sort of focus on just the game side of the sport. It's not just playing games. It dominates their entire lifestyles. It affects them everywhere, anywhere they go. The fame, the popularity, and that has implications for their mental health, which is, I think, it's very important to realise that and sort of help them, or at least never to abuse them, because that just makes things much, much, much worse.
Very good, very good. Yes, coming up next, an interview I did with a Brazilian darts player. His name is Mario Portela, and he spoke to me last week about his career and how it's going for him. When did your passion for darts begin?
Oh, I started playing when I was 9 years old, because I watched my dad playing at home. And then back in 2003 I started playing some local competitions back in Brazil, in São Paulo. And then we went to the WDF World Cup in France, Épinal, and I represented Brazil for the first time back there. Of course not in the men's team, youth team. And I think it all started back there, 2003.
What's probably the highlight of your darts career, would you say? Is it a competition you've won, or what's probably the highlight, or what period has been your best for darts?
It's quite hard to say, but I think every time that I played an international competition representing Brazil, back then when I used to live in Brazil, like America's Cup, Caribbean Cup, WDF World Cup, these moments are very important, even knowing that we don't have many darts fans back in Brazil. You kind of feel that you represent your country in some way.
How far do you want to go in darts? Like, what's your ambition for it? Do you want to be play on the PDC Tour, or for example?
I used to have this dream before, and now I'm just enjoying it, not worrying that much. Of course, I'm still playing in local leagues, individual leagues. I have the dream to play PDC World Cup, representing Brazil as well.
Have you had any chances to play for Team Brazil or any qualifying?
Yes, I played on the first qualifier 3 years ago, and I didn't play that well that weekend. And on the last one last year, I lost in the final 6-5, missed one dart to win, so I was one dart away to play on the main stage.
How did that feel?
That was quite frustrating, but this sport is frustrating, you know. That was kind of a rush, especially because my dad was watching it, and his dream is to watch me and my brother playing for Brazil on the main stage, so it was kind of hard.
The next World Cup, is there a chance?
Oh yes, actually, since I stopped putting darts as the main thing of my life, I'm kind of playing better. So I'm not practicing that much anymore, just going to local leagues and enjoying it. And I have plans to go to Brazil again next year to play the qualifier, to play the PDC World Cup, yeah.
The Rugby World Cup then still going on. Yes, it's been going on since I think September the 21st or 22nd. But yeah, long tournament, and it's been very, very good so far. Although there were worries, weren't they, Kris?
The typhoon.
After the typhoon.
Yes.
Yes, England against France, that one was called off, but Japan against Scotland, that went ahead.
And what a game it was.
Despite the fears surrounding that disaster. And did you watch it?
I did not watch it. I watched the highlights, but what a shock defeat by Scotland. But Japan fully deserved it by the looks of it. They've played 4 games of the tournament so far. They've won all 4. Do you think it's the home support, the home crowd making a difference?
Yes, so there's just so much belief in that Japanese team, isn't it? I think in any sport, when you believe you can win, you can believe you can beat anyone, you can do it. Australia, they are going to be England's opponents in the quarter-finals. They had a sort of lacklustre 27-8 win against Georgia last week. South Africa look like they've got an easier route to the final. They play Japan in the quarter-finals, which is it's not going to be easy, but then they'll possibly play Wales afterwards. Yes, the full semi-final, full quarter-finals, just give you those. Yes, England against Australia, New Zealand versus Ireland, that's in one half, and then Wales against France and Japan against South Africa. That is in the other half. So, Kris, who's going to do it?
I think the final will be between England and New Zealand, but who's going to win it? I do not know. I'm going to be backing the boys, so hopefully we'll bring it home. What about you?
Well, if we play New Zealand, it will be in the semi-finals. That's
Okay.
that's on the side of the draw.
Okay.
I think it'll be though a New Zealand South Africa final. I think the All Blacks will be too strong.
It's a tough one to predict.
But you never know in rugby especially, and we'd all love if England didn't do it, we'd love for Japan to do it, wouldn't we?
Yeah, definitely. In other news, Eliud Kipchoge running the marathon in under 2 hours. Was it 1 hour 59 minutes and 40 seconds exactly? How on earth did he do that?
Well, when you realise how quick that is, it's kind of quite scary, isn't it? His run doesn't count as an official marathon record for some reason because he's not competed in an open competition, but it doesn't mean it didn't happen. Yes, that is quick, a marathon. 26 miles in under 2 hours, essentially running at 13 miles an hour straight all the time.
All the time for 2 hours.
Do you reckon you could run a marathon?
Absolutely not. The furthest I've ever run was 18k, I believe, and that took me about 2 hours. So, not without training, that's for sure.
No, I did Tough Mudder a couple of summers ago, and that was 12 miles, which is about similar to 18k with obstacles. That's felt good. I think a half marathon I could probably do, but 26 miles is actually a lot more than you think. Until I think you'd probably have to train solidly, but we can do it. Anyone can do it. Just gotta start training, but no, not in 2 hours. I think, or I don't know. I'll put the treadmill to 13 miles an hour next time and see how long it lasts for. And yes, that's how quick he ran. On to our preview section then. Kris has given us a bit on Spurs' game against Watford. Norwich, on to Norwich. They need to pick up some points this weekend desperately. They will have some players back from injury, but it's going to be a tough test away to Bournemouth. Been a consistent team now for a few seasons, and unfortunately not really the place we want to go when we want to pick up some points. But as the Premier League, it's still quite tight at the bottom, and if you win a couple of games out of nowhere, you shoot up the table. So I think a point this weekend would be a decent result, and then. Well, we've got Man United the next weekend, so relegation 6-pointer, hey Kris?
Yeah, it is indeed. Man United not doing very well. 2 points above the relegation zone. They lose. Well, they're going to be going down there. On to Tottenham Watford game. The news before that game, we have re-signed Michel Vorm today as a free agent.
Yes, I did see that.
After Hugo Lloris's injury last week. Lo Celso should be back from his injury, so very much looking forward to him starting in the starting 11. A lot of expectation on that young man coming to North London next week.
So on to Man United anyway. Man United against Liverpool. Can anyone stop Liverpool at the moment?
I feel like it's Liverpool's year. 24 points out of 24. quite impressive.
Yeah,
They've
Man U just looked hopeless, didn't
Yeah.
they? But surely the players can be up for this one. Like, they've got to be.
They
up
have
for
to
it,
be.
haven't
They have to be. There's certain games, and that's certainly one of them, where you just have to turn up for the fans, no matter where you are in the table, no matter what you're fighting for. Is it staying up? Is it winning the league? You have to turn up for that game. This one matters.
Sounds good. That brings an end to podcast number 3. A little bit shorter this week as we didn't have as much of our domestic football to talk about, but it will be back to usual next week. We'll also have some more on other sports too. That's going on at the moment. Try and sort of balance the show out as much as we can. I hope you enjoyed the interview with Mario. Yes, he's a very interesting character, and I have wrote a piece on him as well. I will have a link to that in the description when it goes live. In terms of our course, then we are into our 4th week already.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, and so far we've had mock interview. You got your presentation tomorrow?
I've got my presentation on
Ooh.
Wednesday.
You ready?
Not ready at all. It'll be fun.
Yes, make sure you get to the point and don't get the stare that I got at the end of my presentation. But anyway, it's going okay where we are at the moment, I think, and both got games to look forward to this weekend. Once again, if you've got any thoughts on the podcast, anything you think we can add, anything we shouldn't have in here, then please drop us a comment or anything on social media for that. Really enjoying doing it so far, and long may it continue.